Ladies and gentlemen, greetings citizens all over the world. I'm going to give a very deep and meaningful explanation to what's happening right now worldwide, okay? And people has been naturally selected, a natural selection. Now, most people in the world on social media platform believes they're chosen and one of the 144,000. But when you actually listen to people and listen to their grammar and what they talk about and what they've done in their history and the mark on earth they've left, then you might understand something different about people on social media platform. Self-proclaimed prophets, self-proclaimed people who claims to be chosen. A lot of people can talk with smooth grammar, sophisticated knowledge and high IQ, and put wording together very specifically. But that doesn't tell you who they really are. You don't know a person unless you live with them for 5 weeks or more. Then you realize you know that person better than your best friend for 5-10 years. And I'm not kidding you. You know, there's always two sides to every person. The actor and the skeleton in the closet at home. I think you understand what I'm saying. People only tell you what they want you to know. They never tell you they're bad. They never tell you the truth about their life. How many friends they really do have. How many genuine relationships they have with codependent relationships, soulmate relationships. You know, do they have real compassion? Have they been serving God in some way? Have they been serving mankind? Have they done the right thing throughout their life? What's their history? What's their motive? Who are they? Where do they come from? These are questions, right, that nobody asks. They just mentally resonate with people, with their grammar. And a lot of people, you know, we brought into a world with atheism and artificial intelligence, right? Evolution mutation. And when you actually listen to people in the grammar they select, you know what tune they're in. Okay? Very simple. Are they in codependent feelings? Do they follow their codependent EMP pulses? Or do they just follow the grammar with New Age? Do they follow light, power, energy, vibrations, and frequencies? Do they follow the consciousness? Consciousness is developed in 1640. Please look it up. It's a mental event. It's a mental process, an illusion, imagination. It's set up by the Rockefellers into a conscious singularity by WF for educational systems with atheism tools, with grammar. But see, consciousness is only mentality. Okay? And if you look at the world today, they talk about consciousness, raising the consciousness, and everything's about being in the Christ consciousness. There's no such thing. If they're not in the Christ image to be innocent, in the Father's image, to be completely selfless, then they have no idea what they're talking about. Christ consciousness does not exist. It's mentality. Christ said, think outside the mind. Think over and above and outside the mind. If you look at the movie Limitless, okay, he takes a drug that's called bread manna in the Bible and also used by Tibetan monks. Okay, it comes from a plant called mayan. I developed that drug, okay, on every testing centre across Australia. We brought down the highest death time here, cocaine and violence and domestic violence in 30 years. Of course, the Royal Commission banging out for 23 years in Australia. The stolen declaration of poverty being paid out $250 billion today. The biggest mental health research ever conducted in global history. And the most powerful DNA study ever done in human history. From the Gay Key Report and the Star Chamber Inquiry. And I made a lot of videos about this. But you see, the Star Chamber Inquiry was 105 people arrested in an inquiry that had godlike power. And if you look at the movie Limitless, this is the drug that we developed back in 1994. And it brought people back in their primordial state, use 100% of their brain. The whole world can only use 7 to 15% of the highest IQ people in the world, which means they lack, okay, and have dormancy in their IQ behavior. Because IQ only makes you good at what you do, but in fact not intelligent. Proven with DNA studies done and biggest mental health research. People live in IQ and sophisticated grammar, but they don't have mental telepathy, ESP, remote viewing, telekinesis, levitation, spoon bending, clock winding, folding space and time with deja vu to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen into the past and the future in a time where time stands still and light preserves. When I was 5 years old, I told my mum about the worst moment of her life in 1945, World War II, 15 years before I was born. And she thought it was a freak of nature. So it starts right there when I'm 5 years old. Okay, now you have to listen to me carefully. An orb of light came to me when I was a child. Okay, you know the boogeyman, the monster in the bed that scares the living shit out of you? Every child has a UAP, an unexplained error phenomenon. Your parents says their dream, just go back to sleep. Why do they say that? When something scares the living shit out of every child in the whole world, the boogeyman. Many kids see the shadow. We've done plenty of studies on this. So they see the angelica being, okay? They see the primordial being, an angelica being. Some children have an imaginary friend, and some people carry that friend throughout their life and have to keep it in silence. But those people have more luck on their side than anybody else in the whole world in a study done. Okay? They've gone right into the full-on studies about these things for a reason. That's why the military's made ex-soldiers, right? X-Men soldiers with supernatural power because they're not stupid. Okay? Soldiers taking methamphetamine, an enlightenment drug, has supernatural power. Okay? They used an MK Ultra, MBK Ultra, and many other projects. Okay? Super soldiers. That's why the military made the movie Matrix documentary with biofuels, biotech, by DARPA. And they're the ones that made the movie, and a lot of people are trying to take claim for that. But there are only people involved in the movie, right? And a lot of people are being, interviewed on social media platform, taking claim for the Matrix documentary and writing the script. But it has nothing to do with them. Nothing at all. The militaries first knew about this back in the 60s, okay? And they identified back in the 60s, NASA put out a document, as we went into post-human stage from 1960 onwards, we lost our genetic process and our genetic memory. The last human being born on Earth that can use their genetic memory with ancestry tools was born in 1960. And, back in the 70s, a lot of people used to walk on the streets that had mental telepathy, ESP, remote viewing, telekinesis, masterminds that could master their own mind, use 100% of their brain. And, we used to see them in shopping centres, right, before social media platform. And there was a lot of people around that had all these abilities back then. Consider that mental disorders and defects from 2% in 1960 to 98% today, anti-clockwise in biology. Their auras anti-clockwise can only appear 3 hours a night in every single Westerner. Now, 77% of their children are born deformed with chronic diseases declared worldwide. Okay, from generation to generation, from generation X, Z, and Alpha, we get more mental disorders and more defects as they go into their mind, into their mentality. Now the whole world's trapped inside their mentality, anti-clockwise, and can no longer use their natural process. Mental telepathy, ESP, remote viewing, okay, where they can see into the future and prevent what's going to happen. We've shown you that with kids on YouTube, third-eye children, superhumans, you can't have a look at yourself. Okay? A child's a genius between 0 and 7 and can master his own mind and mastermind a computer game between 3 and 7. His aura is perfect. He creates 130 nucleosome molecules in genetic repair kit and 2 molecules of mentality. As soon as he gets trapped into screens and radio waves and into book smart education, he gets mentally institutionalized. And then he has voices in mind that tells him what to do all the time, and he believes in them the most. The voice that tells you do it, and don't do it when you think critically. Give you 5 reasons why you should and why you shouldn't. And by the time you're 18 years old, you think your parents are dinosaurs, and you start to reject your genetic process. The 24th chromosome, the Y chromosome, is now in dormancy. You can see in cellular research. That gives you all the supernatural power. So when we developed the drug, we brought that back and proved to whole human society that we're under mind control by our own mind, by the boogeyman. That's why we lie to our kids. Because Bruce Lee can mastermind by 24 and 512 be back hardly blindfolded, and a blogger be paying 7 times less than anyone can think blindfolded. And you see these kids on YouTube, at 8 years old, right, we can teach them to redraw and write blindfolded. By the time they're 12, they can predict the next car coming around the corner what colour it is. So you can't ram them. Okay, when the phone rings, they can predict who's ringing the other and what they're wearing, with a remote viewing all the way across the planet, just like George Clooney when they were stealing goats from psycho programs from the militaries. There are many movies made about this. So when you understand the process of what's going on in the world today, those who think instinctively tune out the programs as they say in the Matrix documentary. And people cannot think instinctively more, but they think they can in their mind, with their mentality and their IQ behavior and their psychological behavior. They literally believe that they can think instinctively, but they can't. They're deluding themselves worldwide. And they don't even care anymore because they don't have feelings anymore. If they had feelings, they'd be able to keep their family and friends together. But you saw what happened in 220. Far left, far right, and people divided with their families and friends immediately. Okay? And then they think they're actors on a screen all day and think they're self-proclaimed prophets and chosen in a completely massive global delusional state. Okay? Single-handedly, they sit on screens all day and think they're the ones chosen, but they've done nothing for society. They're delusional. Absolutely mentally and delusional. They have amnesia to the maximum. They cannot use 85 to 93% of the brain. They cannot use the 24th chromosome in dormancy. They cannot use 27 biofields. They have 32 senses. Dimensional thinking. You know, the light bulb idea, the best ideas come from out of the blue. And the orb of light is a porthole that goes into other dimensions, or parallel worlds. And people's got no concept of this whatsoever because they lost all those abilities. Now they're trapped in their mind, in their skull, in their self-centered ego, in their self-centered behavior. And that's what's happening across the whole world, right? In the great delusional states warned in the Bible, in the timeline of deception. And everybody's living their mind on social media platform and mentally resonate with everybody. And they're the most artificial human beings in the world, where their body cells go corruption collusion during the daytime, and they die prematurely from stress-related diseases, declared worldwide. And that's all the artificial human beings in the world that think so nothing about life when they don't. They're the liars, deceivers, and the propaganda worldwide. The ones that are chosen are ancient primordial beings that's not living with amnesia, trapped in a reincarnation trap inside their mind with their mentality, and then depend on all those tools to deceive everybody else with. And that's what they do worldwide. The people that are selected can master their mind, use 100% of their brain with all their natural abilities, with their spirituality and not mentality. And that's where everybody goes so wrong across the whole world. And their DNA is anti-clockwise, no matter what comes out of their mouth. Every pastor, every preacher, every Christian, every New Age is the same. Okay? They do not know what they do inside their mind because they're trapped in their mind with IQ behavior. They cannot think with their brain, and their brain's not inside their mind. That's only a mathematical beautiful you can start with, an IQ based on 98% memory. It's a memory box. So whatever they program into and what they see in their lifetime is all they talk about. But what have they done for society in real life? Who are they really, these people that you mentally resonate with worldwide? That thinks they're the special ones chosen, that deceives everybody else. When the facts are, there are people that dedicated their whole life, very powerful people, right, to save humanity, okay, with the right tools. And they're not just some idiot on an actor on a social media platform, self-proclaimed nutcase that everyone mentally resonates with, non-experts, that claims to be experts at nothing. And it's amazing how stupid people really are when they sit down in front of the screen all day, following all these idiots across the world. That's never done nothing for society. Can't even keep their family together in real life. There's no spirituality in these people, only mentality. And they'll do anything to make a name for themselves and to get your attention. They'll interview anyone to get your attention. They'll say anything you like because the voice of mind controls them that much with a Christ conscience that sound heavily. But it's only a personality. And when they're trapped into a personality, they do not know what they do in their mind. Yet people follow these species across the whole world the most. And that's why mental disorders and defects keep flying through the roof with the same things flat out into nowhere. They don't care anymore because they can't feel the truth anymore, and they can't keep a relationship together in real life. They don't even know what they're doing. They don't even care anymore. And most people follow people that don't care because they don't care neither in their life at home neither. And these are the facts. People that sit on a screen all day on a couch potato are the most dysfunctional human beings on earth. They can't even manage their own system. Can't even make natural selection in life because they live on screens all day and sit on the couch all day and totally disconnected from life, nature, and all the things they're in harmony with. Real loyalty, honour, respect, moments, inspiration and encouragement. The very tools they require the most. They're called the tools of righteousness. The people with divine intervention, divine power, are the ones chosen across the world. And they're not trapped in mentality, right? They're in their primordial state. And they control their vessel, their human experience, and not deceived. Because I woke up from amnesia and the reincarnation trap. They're not controlled like the rest of the world is, with mentality, okay, in their personality. Where these species do not care about nothing but themselves and making fake love, fake friends and catfish, gay society, taking drugs all the time, right, with all their agendas. And their agendas is a personal agenda because all they care about is themselves. Obsessed with themselves and possessed with their own opinions. Like a text troll. All they care about is themselves and what's going on in their mind. And that's the only thing they want to display, themselves, to get self-attention. These are posthumans declared since 1999, okay, since 1960. And posthumans are going through transhuman states in a massive global zombie apocalypse. And it's a fact of life. Look at divine syndromes worldwide. Look at mental disorders and DDPX and cancer going through the roof in turbocharged rates. And people are so confused in the greatest breakdown in human history, communication breakdown. Everyone's self-centered and most people don't care. They don't have any real feelings anymore. And now the kids are committing small suicide, right, and using all the wrong tools than ever. Catfish, lying to everybody else, and do not know what they do worldwide. Especially Americans with the worst DNA and the worst gene defects. The ones on social media platform the most. They don't care about nothing but themselves. And they don't even know what's going on. They have amnesia trapped in their mentality. They've never woken up from amnesia and the reincarnation have to use their genetic process and their ancestor tools. And it's astonishing how stupid people in the world are and just watch a video for 2 or 3 minutes and scroll on. Most of them's not going to make it here because they will never listen to nothing and they'll never learn the reincarnation, how to get out of the reincarnation trap and cross over. The movie documentary Matrix represents going through every rabbit hole and sticking your head through the light in a tunnel. Plato's the greatest philosopher of all time that wrote 15 books about this. A certain family tree and a certain bloodline in the Bible, right, that has abilities that no one else has. While the rest of the world suffers the human conditioning. Happened in Babylon, Persians, Greeks, Roman days, and the Pharaoh days, when Moses took 40,000 Israelites across the desert. They're all suffering the human condition with demons in their mind, right? The voice of mind that tells them what to do. Listen to the wrong voice in their mind. Self-centered ego. Didn't care about nothing but themselves. Just wanted to go back to Egypt when they're in the desert. But see, a certain process took place where Moses gave them bread manna, and then they conducted their natural motor skills. Then they activated the primordial motor skills, their gut feeling survival mode with 2 monitors mentality. Then they activated the Neuralink, right, Jacob's ladder, and the sacred secretion to conduct with the third eye to see with the 6th sense, with some basic common sense, to think outside the mind, right, with dimensional thinking, remote viewing, and all their natural abilities, and then they were coping. No more mental disorders, no more defects. Then they created paradise because they were bearing the right fruit. As you can see in the Australian Aborigines, I've told you many times, they grow 10 times more fruit with 10 times more nutrition value because they bear the right fruit. And we found the same kind of soil in the Mayan jungles, the most sophisticated soil in the world. Every western spit of soil and all their farming is collapsing all their nutrition value between 38 and 98% on nutrition value, and their palpita bacteria is collapsing between 50 and 100% every human being on earth. Okay, they got 1,000 to 7,000 defective genes in every single Westerner. So they're completely deformed today in their mentality. And they haven't got a care factor because the science is reverse psychological engineering. They're trapped in their mind with a high IQ that only makes them good at what they do, but in fact brain and deformity from 125 upwards. They cannot think outside the mind and manage the mind. They cannot control their own vessel and mastermind use 100% of their brain. They can only use 7% to 10% on average and 98.7% of every Westerner. The rest they can use more than this, can only use up to 15% of the highest IQ people in the world. And if you can only use 15% of your brain, why would you avoid those who can use 100? That thinks outside the mind. Because that's what you're made to do, right? You're made to not care about nothing, only yourself. And that's why you're going reverse psychological engineering from generation to generation, worse and worse and worse with the adverse effects that you're using, that you select yourself. Because you select artificial intelligence. And that's the gram you select the most without even realizing it. So you're that artificial, you don't even know what you're doing today. That's why the whole world's going into sixth mass extinction, stripping the sixth sense for the sixth time. And there's no way out of this. Only those that think instinctively, which you now the programs are saying the Matrix, only those that have the biofield weapons, which is their 27 senses, will have a weapon in such a way that no weapon from against can prosper. And that's your sixth sense. That's your spirituality. And when you can't live in your spirituality and you live in mentality, you haven't got hope in hell. And you can excuse yourself with any grammar you want or any sophisticated knowledge or any religious political cults or New Age cults. It's not going to work. Your grammar won't get you out of this, and your mentality will never get you out of this when you mentally resonate with everything and you live in consciousness and mental event. You're not living in spirituality. So people spend here dedicating their whole life to save humanity. And they're avoided the most. The absolute alpha omega the most. Jeremy Griffiths wrote the book Freedom, the Cure, the Human Condition is going to save humanity, hailed by 16,000 top scholars in the world and Nobel Prize winners, is being avoided the most by the rest of the population. Absolutely avoided the most. Yet they cure every single thing you suffer from in your biology and your DNA. And DNA is declared the book of life. We can no longer trust mankind from the way he thinks and the way he judges, because the world's crazy, declared in 99. And it is crazy. And the most crazy people in the world is people living on a screen all day and self-proclaimed nutcases that deceives you every day to think they're special in this world. And they're not. They're artificial to the shithouse. The only thing they care about is being an actor and getting likes. That's all they care about. Getting more followers and likes. That's the only thing they care about worldwide. On a screen in a 5 sense world. And they live in a 5 sense world and use body and face expression with 2 eyes, which they think is their witness to their soul. But their third eye is a picture that tells 1,000 words that cannot lie to them. The light bulb idea. With dimensional thinking, where you know every species in the world and who they're controlled by. Which celestial being controls each human being. Because you can feel the truth. Blindfolded. You can feel the truth blindfolded. And that's where you're highly intelligent. As you can see in the movie Limits, he takes a drug and uses 100% of his brain. And then he has a vortex of information with the universal language that you see coming through the atmosphere. And that's where your ASCII is. That's where your library is. That's where your most powerful information is to use 100% of your brain. It's not inside here, in your skull, or your IQ behavior, or he said, she said, or the book Smart Education, because it's artificial. And when you live out of books, and he said, she said, and you quote the Bible to justify what you believe in, you have no idea what you're doing. Christ told you that for a reason. You do not know what you do. And Christ was right. Every human being on earth was wrong. Every religion, every pastor or preacher was wrong, and he was right. He's the only one that was right. And he's an outlaw who worked in the street as a street warrior and took people out to the paddocks. He said, all you care about is materialistic things and beautifications. And that's how you judge mentally on a platform too. You judge people with your 5 sense world. You judge people with body face expression and what they're wearing. You can't even stand red and pickles or black people who Christ was black as the ace of spades. That's the biggest lie you'll live in, right now. You think Christ was white? Is that what you believe? Why didn't they make the movie, The Book of Clarence? And the green mile represents Christ, the black African, right? Standing in jail, in raggedy clothes, wrapped up in chains, always accused of what Western was guilty for. Because that's what Westerners do. They always accuse you of what they're guilty of. That's the only mentality they got. Accusing everybody else of what they're guilty of the most in their own DNA. And DNA doesn't lie. The delusional parasitosis is in 98.7% of the population with voltage reliability anti-clockwise. And there's nothing they can say to get out of that. There's only one thing they can do, and that's cross over back in their primordial state. To live outside the mind, in their primordial being. And then control their business from the outside in, instead of the inside out. And if they don't do that, they're screwed. They can say what they like. They've got no way out of this. I'm the only one in the whole world that teaches the genuine resurrection of humanity, the rebirth, the crossover. Look at my platform and my followers. Look at the testimonies. We're bringing through this with Jeremy give us the most powerful book on earth, the Holy Grail of Life. held by 16,000 top scholars and Nobel Prize winners across the world on the same page and merging for the first time in human history with DNA, the book of life. DNA doesn't lie. And it proves that everybody else depends on lies and propaganda, especially Americans are worst. Worst DNA in the world. Not one mastermind anywhere can we find America with a perfect biology and a perfect DNA. Only two in Europe, We're Not Breathing, and Mastermind Xi Ying. They're the only two in Europe. In every DNA study done worldwide. And the rest of the world couldn't care less. Especially governments, authorities, and defense force, and cops and politicians couldn't care less. Because they have no feelings. They have no real love. They have no real compassion. Nearly every Western demands respect but don't earn it with kindness and manners. They demand it, yet it's a two-way street with codependent feelings. You earn respect. You earn respect, and every Western demands it. Every single Western world demands respect. Every cop, every politician, workplace, right? Governments, authorities demand respect, but they don't earn it because they wouldn't know how to. There's no kindness and manners in these people whatsoever. They're demanding authoritarian behavior, white supremacy. And that's the genes that they worship in the 23rd chromosome. That's why they're living in the 23rd chromosome and not in the 24th, the woman seed, in the Y chromosome. Every single Westerner in the world has 23 chromosomes, and the 24th's in dormancy no matter what comes out of their fucking mouth. They're liars, and they're deceivers, and they're mentally seduced in their mind, with a voice of mind that controls them because they can't control their own mind. If they could control their own mind, they could use 100% of their power, God-given power, and their God-given abilities, which they cannot. Now, in 1992, I brought someone back to life with the most powerful peer reports, CCTV. I harness the power that no one else has, okay, with the God-given abilities. And I've done this for 33 years of my life. My DNA becomes the most powerful, authentic DNA in the world in the biggest study ever done in 2008. And no matter what people say, they throw stones at me. Every single pastor, priest, and Christian New Age couldn't care less. Yet I'm developed for this. I protect the elect. I know who the elect is. Because everyone has amnesia and do not know who they are. And when they don't know who they are, they don't know who they are. They only know their vessel, their human experience, and their date of birth. That's the only thing they know. But they don't know their primordial being that controls the vessel. Because they gave consent to someone else to control their vessel, trapped in their skull, in their personality, and think they know everything about life, but they don't. They haven't got a fucking clue. The world's full of deception and lies worldwide with actors on screens. And 99% of people mentally resonate with the screen. That's why they're all sex trolls, sitting on sex apps all day and gaming all the time, and kids committing suicide in their bedrooms while their parents are too busy pulling their dicks on the screen all day with all their agendas and all their self-centered ego. Can't even bring their kids up right. Disgusting, filthy, low-life reptilians with reptilian mentality, no matter what they say. IQ only makes you good at what you do, but in fact not intelligent. You can only use up to 15% of your brain at the maximum. So you can say what you like. God took away all your spirituality because you made that decision yourself. You chose mentality and self-centered ego and to be an actor, right? And couldn't give a shit about nothing but yourself. And consume too many products and can't even keep family members and friends together in real life. And that's where reality is. The reality you don't want to face. But look at your own family at home. Look how many friends you've really got that you've got real genuine faith in. You don't even know what faith is anymore. You haven't got a clue. Back in the 60s, we had hundreds of friends, hundreds of soulmates. And I still have over 2,000 of them all day long. All day long. Because we bring people back in the primordial state. In the biggest study ever done, in the Gatekeeper report, with my product tested on every centre across Australia that caused the most powerful adverse effect worldwide. We're the most powerful scholars in the world. Dr. Bruce Lipton studied research. You can do what I can and more. You can prepare anything. Joe Dispenza, the placebo effect. We're in the wrong placebo. Right? We're not in faith. Enlightenment. Authenticity is the most powerful enlightenment, they say in America. Really? That's why they've got no divinity. Authenticity is just a fancy word for honesty. And I can authentically kill you tomorrow and plead guilty the next day authentically. But it's not righteousness, because Americans are not righteous. They're fancy people that that thinks they use fancy wording. That's why they've got no divinity at all, no divine power to command nature. Our aura is clockwise 24 hours a day. 98.7 is anti-clockwise. Can only be at 3.5 hours a night, no matter what comes out of their fucking mouth. Because they're using all the wrong tools. It's not about grammar. It's not about social engineering. It's not about human conditioning and conditioning everyone else into the mentality that you live in, that you want to control as a control freak with your grammar. It's not about love and light and love and chocolate and roses. It's not about power, light and energy, vibrations and frequencies. It's not about any of these things. It's all deceptions and lies, right? With what? The World Wide Web. WF, conscious singularity, mentality. And that's what everyone lives in, conscious singularity mentality. Every human being on earth lives in consciousness mentality. And that's their reality in their personality. But they haven't got mental liberty, ESP, remote you, telekinesis. They couldn't levitate a thimble. And the Australian Aboriginal is 450 years old, 10 feet tall, can levitate a 1 ton stone. And trees bend down to talk to them because they have that kind of relationship where they create paradise. And Westerners wouldn't know how to, because nature is disconnected from human beings. They're disconnected from nature, and they're into materialistic things. They're into radio waves and consuming all the wrong products. And they consume that much garbage in their mind that's artificial intelligence and normalize that every day. You know, their generation consistently normalized what was more yesterday non-stop from one generation to another. Look at the grammar today. Listen to anything on TV from America today and take a look at the 30 different live TV shows, real TV, about how many people in America, gay society, blue, black, purple hair, right? Gay society, right? So dysfunctional in America with mental disorders and cheating on one another. There's more than 30 real TV shows that say how mental they are in America. There's more. The worst mentality you've ever seen is coming out of America because they're putting up the platforms, aren't they? We're sitting here in Denmark. We have one channel, right? With nothing but dysfunctional behavior in America. And they're showing that worldwide how dysfunctional they are in America. The most dysfunctional society in the world in LA with gay, porn, sex society, taking drugs and can't cope, and self-centered ego on a screen all day. And then we're seeing that worldwide, right? We're seeing it worldwide. We're not seeing it in America because America are fucking pieces of shit, garbage, absolute mental disorders in America. Self-centered ego, and all they want to do is make a name for themselves. But they've done nothing for society in real life. Look at their kids, look at their family. Most of them are demonic. So demonic you've got no idea, so selfish, couldn't care about nothing in real life. Just want to make a name for themselves. Sits on the screen all day. And now most white Westerners are in the same shit. All artificial human beings worldwide. Not even human anymore. And it's amazing how brain dead they all are. When we bring people through this, what we're not breathing breaking is one and overrise, right, without a credential, to recreate the sacred secretion and restore the holy breath of life with their Neuralink, DNA, right? He's got 27 world records and 27 times more powerful immune system than anyone else in the world has. There's 130 of us here selected like this. We are the elect, and we've been to a mark on earth our whole lifetime. I created the most powerful truth in the world, the testimony that we were born. And I left my mark on earth against the whole Babylonian beast system that you love so much and support every day of your life. And you're a creative thief and a liar out there. Every person social media platform is a creative thief and a liar. Okay, you have to be in my shoes to realize how many people in the world, right, steals credit from me about DNA. Even Billy Carson, right, and all the people on Joe Rogan are full of shit. I am the only one on earth that has the most divine intervention, divine power, with the biggest miracles ever recorded on earth and the biggest mastermind recorded by the biggest think tank in the world. And then I listen to lies every day on every social media platform. And do you know what it feels like to be me? Knowing that the whole world's full of lies every day. The whole world and every American's just full of shit. They discredit us the most. The ones that are selected with UAPs, unexplained aerial phenomena, orbs of light. They're not. They don't even have that kind of relationship. The watchers do not watch over them. They watch over us. The Australian Aborigines, double Y, double X chromosome. That's where the orbs of light have been for the last 5,000 years. The biblical ones. Always been there watching over them. And Westerners lie so much about it. Because they're self-centered ego. Jealous, spite for cows. But you know, Christ warned about this when they were walking with Christ. And they were walking with Enoch. And they were walking with Abraham. and they were walking with Moses. You know, they were black Aboriginals, and they've always been walking with them. The watchers to watch over him. The 3 black kings that came to save Christ. And look at the movie, right? The Book of Clancy. They're all black. Mary's black as well. The Pillar of Salt. Black. Not white. Not one of them. Every witch is a liar. They lie in their Bibles. They follow Noah and there's naked drunks. The whites. The ones that took away your universal language. The ones that put you in confusion, frustration, delusion, and paranoia. The ones that go, you no more than 120 years to live. The ones that put you on drugs and alcohol. The naked drunks. The Western whites. You can see in the book of Enoch when they removed that from the Bible. That's right. The most favored man of God that walked with the angels. That sent the fallen angels in the abyss. The one that had the power. Most favored man of God that saved the Aboriginals and lie about it. Okay? He was the one wrapped in the future to bring Christ up to be perfect for 7 years. Also removed from your Western Bibles. And your mentality. And your self-centered ego. Because none of you can use any divine power. Not one pastor or preacher or any Christian in the world can teach you to do what Christ can and more. He said, follow my footsteps, you can do what I can and more. Did any of these species in any of the Western civilization ever bring anyone into the world to do what Christ can and more? No. They brought them up to go to work and pay the bills and do what the system says. And that's the obvious. Spineless, weak, lying cowards that can't use Jacob's ladder, can't use the sacred secretion, and cannot use the third eye of their sixth sense. There's no spirituality in any Christian pastor or preacher anywhere in any Western civilization because they cannot do what Christ can and more. But sure, masterminds can. And what did Christ do? He learnt reincarnation and the reincarnation trap and life after life. And at 24, he woke up from amnesia and he said, I'm son of David, son of Abraham. So when I'm telling you I'm son of Christ, son of David, son of Abraham, it's because I am. I have that genetic memory and I bring people through this in the 40 days that Christ did. Christ did it in 40 days. He resurrected, right? And faced the demon head on inside his own mind, his own possession. The voices in the mind, right? The boogeyman. And when he faced him head on, he broke free from amnesia and the reincarnation trap, and he first discovered he was at 24, and then he went through a 3.5 year process, right? For reactivating, right? A genetic process. And when he learned that, then he put the 12 disciples through the same 40-day test. And then 3.5 years, it took them to readjust with their genetic process. So that was a 7-year process from 24 to 31. And that's when he first came out and said who he was and started his process for 2 years to save humanity. After 7 years, a cycle of life. A cycle of life you know nothing about worldwide. To wake up from amnesia and the reincarnation trap, you know nothing about it. Zero. But you all think you're heroes out there, but you're zeros. Because your aura is anti-clockwise involved in DNA, in corruption, coercion in the daytime, and can only be at night time. In 98.7% of the whole human population and every Westerner. A humble human being is a Shula mastermind, 257 years old with birth certificate, 197, 185, that harness the power. Aboriginals, 450 years old, 10 feet tall, in Australia. Solomon Island, 9 feet tall, 350 years old. While you kill them all and call them Netherlands, when in fact you are. You're the Western drunks. You're the Western drunks that's got no pineal gland and cannot create the sex secretion. Just talk shit with grammar. You need drugs to activate within the militaries because you can't do it yourself. No Westerner can. Not without the drugs to conduct with. No, in fact, we developed the drug with the military, 2 top scientists from NASA in Australia, and 5 international networks. Okay? In all these psych programs. I was a leader in the underground world in all these psych programs. Number 1. I brought out the most powerful truth serum in the world from a plane called Mayan. They brought me back in the Primordial state. The one that Christ used and Moses used. And you know nothing about it. You can say what you like about methamphetamine. There's no more than 900 different types. Depends on how it's made. But the one from plane called Mayan, made organically, you know nothing about. Same with your sacred secretion, because it mimics your sacred secretion you cannot create. Aboriginals have a pineal gland 5 times the size of yours, and they don't have a faint cortex the size of a watermelon. Said you do. Your brain is a mathematical computer, right? Your front cortex is the size of a watermelon. Because you're trapped in your skull that much with artificial intelligence and exploding your mind out of control. But you're not in your brain. That's why it doesn't work. That's why you're brainwashed worldwide brainwashed, and you can't face the truth. Well, we bring you through this. We save humanity. We save their soul from their personality and their mentality with the highest success in the world. The elect, mastermind Shi Heng, the biggest masterminds in the world, We're Not Breathing program, who's won a Nobel Prize. Okay, we teach the We're Not Breathing program to recreate the second secretion, right, to restore your biological fields, your biosphere. Okay, and the book Freedom take you through every rabbit hole to stick your head through the light in a tunnel. Okay, that Plato describes in 15 books. Okay, then you realize the sun's a lot shinier, 10 times shinier, and the grass is 10 times greener. Then you see the porthole into the future. You see the timeline we're going into with sevenfold wisdom and knowledge, right? As we go through a transformation in a 7-year crossover. And that 7-year crossover is between 220 and 227. The last 7 years of timeline deception and the first 7 years of the new timeline of sevenfold wisdom and knowledge to live with the tree of life and to release the tree of knowledge. Everything in your mind and the personality. Very few people get through this because it's a 6 mass extinction strip in the 6th century, 6th time. And most people beyond the point of return. 95% is declared in DNA beyond the point of return. We can no longer change the way they think. That's declared in 99. They declared species in 2003. And then they got polarized in the screens with delusional parasitosis. Now the parasites, 9 parasites, it's every single thing they suffer from with voltage reliability anti-clockwise, and that's called Baal. Baal is voltage reliability. Rel, R-E-L. You know what voltage reliability is? It's molegolems. Molegolems is leprosy when they give them consent. Okay, you see that in the movie Limitless. You see that the holy breath of life, right, in the Green Mile, you see him bring the mass back to life and pulling the ferrets right out of Tom Hanks. That's the boogeyman that controls every human being on earth. That's what you go to school for, to be mentally institutionalized by a voice of mind. They'll tell you what to do and sounds heavenly, like the Christ consciousness. It's only a personality, and they'll tell you whatever you want to believe in. And you can see Tom Hanks is the nicest person in that movie, and he still pulls out the boogeyman right out of Tom Hanks with the holy breath of life. I pull the boogeyman out of people worldwide. Been doing it since 1992 and bringing people back to life. Why would you not want to believe that? Why would you go against that? Because you're an antichrist. Because most pastors, preachers, and Christians and New Age are antichrist because they're anti-me straight away. They're anti-me when I am the one and only. And you have to understand that worldwide, that every single person that rejects me is an antichrist no matter what they say, because they're anti-me. And I am the last Christ here. I'm the witness that protects the elect. We're the most powerful confirmation on earth. In DNA studies done, I'm the one and only. I'm the son of Christ, son of David, son of Abraham. And any person that throws stones at me is an antichrist, anti-clockwise, because they listen to the voice of mine with their self-centered ego. And that's 98.7% that's got no faith. They only got a placebo effect in their mind. They believe in the most. Book smart education, right? Spineless weak cows, suffering stress, fear, anxiety, confusion, frustration, delusion, and paranoia, living in a comfort zone. And why on God's earth would they not want to be saved and be free from this kind of mentality and find the genuine solution with the greatest liberation ever given in human history, with the most powerful love and divine intervention you could ever begin to imagine? Look at my followers. Listen to their testimonies. They've gone through this. Listen to my followers. Listen to their testimonies that's been dedicating with the book Freedom and We're Not Breathing program and doing exactly what I said with a 40-day test without eating and changing their natural selection and going through the most powerful confirmation on earth. And they feel the truth and they feel the love. And I remove them from their vessel into the light in the inner tunnel. You know, like a death experience, I take them right out of the vessel and they go to the light in the tunnel and they feel the most powerful confirmation on earth, and they see it with their own 2 eyes. They see it with their 3rd eye, through the porthole, the light bulb idea. They go right through it, and what do they see? They see the new dimension that's perfect. No more pain, stress, and fear in a time where time is still and life preserves. And how amazing is it? Well, you don't know what you're missing, do you? You just don't know what you're missing, do you? Until you go through this and you get this confirmation where you see it yourself, you'll never know until you feel it yourself. You feel the glory of love pouring all over you with the most powerful confirmation on earth. Ask any one of my followers who's gone through this. It is the most amazing time to be alive and the most powerful liberation with real freedom. The book Freedom, the cure of the human condition that's going to save humanity, and the holy breath of life with We're Not Breathing program. These are the most powerful confirmation and tools on earth, where once you go through this, you will understand the Bible in metaphor 1,000 times better. 1,000 times better. You will understand the Bible in correct metaphor by thinking outside the mind and seeing the picture that tells you 1,000 words are going to lie to you. Then you understand what Christ only read one paragraph of Isaiah, right? And said, you do not understand, as he explains the picture that tells you 1,000 words, and now this affects you with cosmetic laws of life. That's embedded in your own DNA, because he knew what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing. He said, I have a kingdom waiting for you. You want to see that kingdom? Then go through the 40-day test and you'll see it with your own eyes and you experience it. The most powerful confirmation on earth. My followers are experiencing that. The experience that you'll never have if you don't do this yourself. 40 days of your time to isolate. Don't eat. Get off screens. Get in your sixth sense. Meditate. We're not breathing non-stop. Don't eat. Take salicylic salt. Drink lots of liquid. Coffee and tea is okay. Don't eat. And change your selections. Isolate yourself. You can communicate with family, but isolate. Right? Do the minimal communication. Don't go in any judgmental behavior. Do not eat for 40 days. Isolate. Get off screens. Get off radio waves. Get off social media platform for 40 days. Can you do it? Or you're possessed beyond the point of return, because most people really are. They're that possessed with radio waves and screens, they can't do it. Or they think about themselves too much. Well, this is what's going to take you through this. This is going to break you through from amnesia and reincarnated when you realize what the crossover is all about. Once you cross over, you control the serpents, yin and yang, good and evil. You control the matrix. And you go from 7% of your brain to 100%. And it's not what you think. It's a massive wow factor you cannot explain, but you'll feel it. The transformation begins in your DNA body. You can feel it in your aura. You can feel it in your body cells. You can feel the transformation in your own DNA. You can feel it through your body. You feel the most powerful confirmation. You feel love pouring all over you, and you break free from the reincarnation trap, and you break free from amnesia. You break free from the mentality you're living in. You break free from the personality and go back in your primordial state into a childhood, right? You repent and go back to your childhood. You go back and look at everything, right? And you repent and go through your guilt factor and all the things you've done wrong and all the things that's happened to you, and you let go. And when you let go, you go back in your primordial state in your innocence, in your primordial state, as a father who sacrificed himself for children. You see, I've sacrificed every single thing in my life, more than you realize. I've dedicated my life. These videos here, the 10 most powerful confirmations, right? The book of Numbers, the completion 1 to 10. And I urge that every single one of you sit down and take the time to go through every one of these videos, because you need to. I've put my mark on earth here with more than 60 documents to back it up, 60 meters of documents. Okay? I'm the most powerful, divine, right, primordial being on earth, declared by the biggest think tank and DNA studies done. And believe me, I can save you. No one else can save you the way I can. And I protect the elect with the most powerful confirmation on earth. And believe me, you'll discover who you are and your genetic process with genetic memory. And once you unlock your genetic memory with the ancestry tools, believe me, it becomes the greatest time to be alive when you realize who you really are, why you're really here, and what the true meaning of life is. And believe me, it's the greatest time to be alive when things come to you out of the blue. That's where the information is. That's where so-involved wisdom knowledge is. And it comes like that. This is your worst enemy. Your mind plays tricks and games, and you become your own prison, your own warden, trapped inside your skull and your mind. Revelation warns you about that with John. Hellfire's in here. And that's exactly what Jeremy says. We have a hostile entity, and as 45,000 teachers says, and 16,000 scholars will listen to the wrong voice of mine. Right? Just like a Solomon. Einstein, Hawkins knew this. Plato describes it the best in 15 books. And now we found the cure of everything. So we never suffer the consequence of it again. No more suffering, no more death experience, and the greatest time to be alive. And why wouldn't you want some of that? Why would you want to deceive everyone else? Why would you want to deceive yourself? We bring you through this with the most powerful confirmation on earth. So believe me, don't waste any more time. Go through this and you explore the greatest time to be alive, and you'll feel it, and you'll get a confirmation how God works, how the Father really works, and how he saves you. And trust me, it is the greatest experience you'll ever experience in your life. And you'll never suffer again. You'll go through a transformation, and then you'll realize what the truth is, and the truth will set you free.